Hello, Penny. How are you? It's very quiet in here. It's quite eerie. Just warming my hands up. Karen, you're naughty. We're all a bit loony, aren't we? How did you know, Karen, that Looney's the dog? But yes, indeed, she is the doggy. But they're babies in our house. Yes, Mum, you do indeed. Although much of it at the moment is past lives, but nonetheless, it talks you through a tutorial from beginning to end. So it's definitely, I think I'm going to get you into crafting, whatever I do. If it's the last thing I do, I'll get you there. I think I might get started, to be honest with you, because I am going to be doing a version of this card today, or not a version. I am going to be doing this card, but I'm also going to be doing the same one but in a different colour palette, because otherwise this would only take around, well, I say 15 minutes, but the amount that I ramble on, it'll probably take a little bit longer. But I thought we'd get the best out of the time that I've got this evening. Oh, did I, Karen? Okay, my mistake. Right, so for this evening's live, I am going to be using the More Narky Birthday sentiments. I'm going with a very tame one today, which is the, let's turn it round. In fact, I don't know why it never was that way in the pack anyway, the right way. But I'm going to go with Sorry I Forgot Your Birthday this evening. Now, it is supposed to be paired up with this one, I nearly said it, or this one here. So that one, and then followed by Sorry I Forgot Your Birthday. But you can obviously use it on your own, on its own as well. So I'm going to be using that today. I may well use it on both cards, but we'll see how we feel. And then for the main image, the focal is going to be this one from Altnu, and this is the penned rose. It does come with a matching die, but we're going to be embossing that this evening. I did want a stamp which was a whole A6 image, but I couldn't find one. I know I have them in my stash, but I couldn't find an appropriate one, so I've gone with this one, and I'm repeat stamping to give us the same kind of effect. So without further ado, I will get started. So let me just put these somewhere safe, and picking out the ink pads. Now, you may think this is a little bit unusual in that I'm using two reds / purples and then a blue, but it works. That is what we see here, and actually it becomes quite a muted purple tone, I guess. And then for the second panel, which I haven't experimented with, so I don't know how well this is going to go, but we're going to go with a blue palette. So we're going to go with the peacock feathers, chipped sapphire and speckled egg. So yeah, not too sure how that will go, but we'll see how we get on. But I'll be moving from the pink / red / purple panel onto the blue, and then we'll be stamping onto both of them as well. So I'll be going back and forth between the two. So I'm going to pop those aside for a moment. I'm going to move that now that you've seen that, and I'm going to bring in my blending mat. So I've cut down some white super smooth, both approximately the same size, but they will be mounted onto a coloured background to give a colour border, and then onto black. The black on either of the cards I've done to fit the entirety of an A6 card front, so we don't see any white, but we've still got the white that we can write on. Try saying that quick. So we're looking at around, the white panel that we're working on is approximately 1/2 centimetre smaller than an A6 card blank. Hello, Mandy. Oh, you're not late. Thank you for being here. So let's start with the pink first. I'm just going to get my blending tools. Actually, to speed up the process, I'm going to use 3 tonight. I wouldn't normally. So I'll start with the seedless preserves. No, let's start with the picked raspberry. So we're working in thirds. We've got 3 colours. So I'm going to apply this to the bottom or a third of my card panel. I'm going to take it approximately over that though. Maybe around 2/5 or so, because we're going to blend onto it. So that was nice and easy. That went down nice and easy. And I'm going to pop that aside and come in with the seedless preserves. And just go through the middle, slightly overlapping the picked raspberry. Got a little bit lost in thought there. So yeah, just overlapping that, not with the bulk of the colour. Once you've used the bulk of the colour, then overlap the picked raspberry a little bit. This isn't anything that you haven't seen me do before. It's I tend to repeat myself, don't I, a little bit with processes, but you do what works. So I'm just going to go back in with the picked raspberry, take a little bit of that off, and then just go over that blend. And that gives a nice seamless blend there. And then this is where it gets a bit controversial, shall we say. Because now I'm coming in with the speckled egg. So I am going to just mop up some of this, because I don't want to contaminate my blending tools with the purple and the blue. Is that a blue? Would you say the speckled egg is a blue or like a greeny? A greeny, what would you say? My one is particularly juicy. It causes an awful mess every time I use it. I don't seem to have an in-between with my distress inks, or distress oxides. Mine are either really juicy or quite dry. So just going over that last area, I'm going to bring in a piece of paper now. And then going over the seedless preserves. And actually going to bring that quite far down, but as I go down, I'm lightening up the pressure. So then I'm going to go back in with the seedless preserves. I'm going to get minimal amount on there, take off some of the excess, and then just go back in over the centre of it, blending upwards, blending back down, and then one last time with the speckled egg, just blending that light blend together again. There we go. So that's where we're at now. Alright, so let's get rid of... I'm going to pop away the purples and pink, because I'm going to move on to the next panel while we have the blue out still. Right, so let's pop that back. I need that, don't I? I'm going to pop that one aside. Everything's falling down. Actually, I need that, don't I, anyway? So we've got the speckled egg still. And then chipped sapphire. Right, so working from darkest to lightest. Let me clean that up. So darkest to lightest, chipped sapphire first. So, oh, what's happened now? I thought I'd pop that on there. Okay, right. chipped sapphire, approximately a third. This is the white super smooth. This is the best for, I've mentioned before, but this is the best for both distress ink / oxide blending and for alcohol pen colouring. It absorbs and disperses the ink to give really beautiful blends. So then I'm going to go in with the peacock feathers. And that will go in the next third. This feels like a completely different texture to the chipped sapphire, so I'm going to turn that round. That's incredibly juicy as well. And you can actually see all the circular marks. So that's going to need quite a lot of blending there. So I'm going to go back in with a chip. Oh, Dani. Just taking off that chipped sapphire, that doesn't belong there. So I'm going back in now with the chipped sapphire. And I'm not going in too heavy. Just with a fairly light touch, just over that blended line. And then going back in with a bit of peacock feathers. And finalising that blend there. And then the last one, although I've messed up my blending sponge now, is the speckled egg. Just wiping this away. Just so as not to contaminate my blending sponges. Right, so speckled egg, wasn't it? There we go. So just placing that down in that last third, bringing that back over the peacock feathers. And you know what, I don't think I even need to do anything more with that part, but there doesn't seem to be enough peacock feathers actually, so let me go back on my word. Let's just pick up a bit more peacock feathers, just so that we can see a bit more of that colour as well, or shade. A bit more of these. I'm not adding any more ink at this point, just using what I already have and moving around what's already there. So that's better. That's given us a bit more of the peacock feathers. And then lastly, last move, just back in with the chipped sapphire, the residual of what's on the sponge and what's on the card. And that is it. Right, so tidying up after myself. See how juicy that speckled egg is. It really is a bit of a mare. Hello Karen T, how are you? Right, so let's get rid of everything around us that we don't need. And I think all I'm going to do is pop that aside and bring in a bit of scrap. So the next step is what is going to take the longest, but it shouldn't be too much bother. Hiya Heidi, how are you? Let's bring in both of them panels. Let's pop them side by side. Look at them lovely colours. Really like those. And then I need a stamping block. I'll save the second stamping block for now. So as I mentioned, this is Altenew, that's better, isn't it? That's better English. Penned Rose. Not entirely what I was going for, but it still gives the same effect. I actually really enjoy this process with the repeat stamping. Before we do any of that, because we've just inked and some of those are quite juicy, I'm going to blast them both with my heat tool. Thank you, Karen L. They are lovely colour choices, aren't they? I think what I might do one day is just sit down and make up a load of panels like this and write the names on there and make it into a bit like a reference book, you know? so that in future I've got all these colour blends to hand and I haven't got to practice or put too much thought into it. We're doing all right for time, actually. So I've just give them a quick blast, and then for extra measure, I'm going in with my anti-static, because we just don't want this embossing ink sticking where we don't want it. Exactly, Karen, when I get time. I don't seem to have much time to even scratch these days. Right, okay. So the first image we're going to repeat stamp is the rose. Now we're going to do this quite organically. I want it to come off the page. That way it gives us more space as well to work around. So not giving it too much thought. Bang, first corner. Pop that down. Yeah, like a Karen chart. A Karen chart. I was going to say yes, like a colour chart, and then I saw both Karen and Mum said the same thing, pretty much. Anyway. So, again, not giving it too much thought, but giving it some rotation as well. Bang. Down you go. And then we'll do the last one on this panel. I'm just using the Versamark embossing ink, as always. And then push that one down as well. Now I should have long enough for that to stay sticky enough for me to go in and do the same on this panel. Let's hope. Let us hope. So, first corner. I feel as though I need something cushioning underneath that when I'm applying that pressure. And then next one. This is a great way of batch making. You know, for when you haven't got an awful lot of time, or if you just feel like topping your stash up, perhaps. This is the type of card which is great for that purpose. There we go. Right, so I'm going to pop the lid on because we don't want embossing powder in the ink pad. And I'm going to use 2 different colours for each of those panels. So for the pink one, I'm going to use rose gold. That's just a Ranger one. And I'm using a Cheap and Cheerful. I got this from a charity shop. This is just Heat It Up silver. And I thought that would be quite nice with the blue. So I'm going to get my sheet out. I'm going to go in with the pink first, so I'm going to pop the blue to one side. I can't lift it up, so we'll just push that away. And let's hope that it doesn't stick in too many unnecessary areas. Right, okay, so that's how we're looking now. So that's done what I wanted it to do. So I'm going to decant that because we're now going in with, pop the lid on because we don't want any accidents. And then we'll go in with the silver. Now, as I've said, I haven't experimented with this yet, with either the blue colour combination, which has worked in my favour. This has stuck in areas which I didn't want it to. I did do the anti-static on there, didn't I? I think I recall doing the anti-static on both of those. But it's okay, it's not that intricate that I can't get that excess off. So I'm just going to go in, look for, oh, excuse the brush, it looks like it's had better days, it's seen better days. I'm just going to brush off all that embossing powder that shouldn't be there. See, with this design, sometimes, like now I've gotten into the habit of when I'm stamping, I use black ink and then clear embossing powder, which does the same job as a black embossing powder essentially, but this design doesn't call for black ink, so if you get powder where it's not supposed to be, it's just a case of removing it, unfortunately. It's just a risk you take. Okay, that will do. So I'm going to decant that. Karen L, no, you would need a specific glue for gilding flakes. I can show you. Let me see if I remember where I've got my... Oh, here we go. So you need a guild of like a flake and glitter glue. This one's a Cosmic Shimmer one. I think it's thicker and more tacky. Or this is a sample size bottle from Indigo Blue. This is called Flitter Glue. So for gilding flakes, you would need to use something similar to that, or those ones. Hope that helps. So I'm just heat setting this. And I noticed with the rose gold one, the one that I'm doing now, it doesn't really look very rose goldy on once it's put down with the background. It catches the colour of the background perhaps, I don't know, but it looks more just silver. Unless I'm a bit colour blind. Once it heat sets, it doesn't quite look as... Bear with, because that's going to knock off the embossing powder. So yeah, as I was saying, when it's dry on here, preset, it looks more rose gold than it does once it's been set. I don't know if I like that or not. I'm undecided as yet. I'm just going to do that last one. Oh, thank you, Heidi. When you say 3D embossing paste, do you mean that's the kind of stuff that you put through stencils? And then let's go. Ah, lovely. I do love a bit of silver. There is so much residual powder there that where I didn't want it, but it's unavoidable. I did what I could. The rest we just have to roll with it. And then the last one. There we go. Right. So we've done the larger image on both of those. So now we're just going to go in and fill in the spaces with the leaves from the same set. So let's just get that ready. I'll clean up my stamp before popping that away. Okay, Heidi, I've not heard of that, but that might be a bit easier. I do have I struggle to work with gilding flakes and the glues, so there you go, Karen. You might find that a little bit easier, that technique, using adhesive paste. Thank you, Heidi. You helped me out there. Right, so I'm going to go in. I'm working larger to smaller, so we've done the largest, which is the rose itself. Then this one, which is a stem or a branch with some leaves on. It's easier to fill the the gaps in as they shrink, if that makes sense. Where did I put my... Oh, for some reason I've put it back in my little pot. Right, so pop those aside. Let's bring our ink back in. So, I also found from this evening, and comparing it to last night or yesterday when I worked on this sample, it's quite hard to see where you've stamped on the pink, but today I'm noticing it's easier to see on the blue. Right, so not giving it a huge amount of thought, just knowing that once I've put that down, I'm perhaps leaving enough space to fill it in with some smaller stamps. So we've got one now. We've still got a fair few large amount of gaps here, so I'm going to go here. I may have gone too far. Ideally, I don't really want to overlap anything that's already on there, so that's what I'm aiming for, but we'll see how we get on. And then we've got this larger gap down here, so that seems to fit in there lovely. And again, as per before with the rose, I'm taking them off the page. It gives us more room to play with, and it looks a little bit more natural as well. So I'm going to pop that one aside, and I'm going to bring the blue back in. I hope this paper isn't too distracting. There's a lot of black going on through the page, but I hope it's, because it's a QR code, I hope it's not too distracting for you. Right, so I'm going to go here with this one. Some of these gaps feel as though they were meant to be. And then let's go, oh, this is a tricky one. Could be a bit like a game of, like a jigsaw puzzle. So I'm going to go here. And then we've got that top corner. Oh, look at that. Hope I haven't overlapped to that, but we'll soon find out, won't we? Right, so I'm just going to quickly clean that one up and pop that away. I wasn't overly fond of this stamp actually, but by the time I'd used it for this purpose, it served a purpose. I haven't used it before this either. Right, I need that, so I'm putting it away. See, sometimes I forget that you guys are here, and I get a bit carried away and tidy up. And hello, Vicky. How are you? Oh, that's not a problem. It is a bit of a funny time. I have considered doing 7 o'clocks instead, but then that clashes with my evening as well. Then with the kids. Right, so that isn't not for you, Vicky. That's just something that I've thought about quite a lot, and I think people that have been with me for a while will know that I keep chopping and changing the times, and this seems to be working at the moment, but I'm not entirely sure it's the best time for everyone. So going in again with the rose gold. It hasn't entirely taken there, but that's fine. So let's pop that away. Oh, it was a bit unsteady there. I nearly made quite a mess. I think I just about got away with it. Let's bring that back in, because I'm going to be needing that again, aren't I? And then again. It appears to have dried off a little bit more now, despite the fact that I had I did dry it. It was sticking in a lot of places, but now it seems to be a bit more forgiving. So that's good. I've got a horrible bit of paper there. Right, I think that one was that. I don't know where the... Oh, there you are. Okay, let's heat set those. Try not to put my fingers and thumb in those areas which aren't yet set. Oh, are you... Vicky, tell me that you've got fussy eaters and you're cooking 2 different dinners for fussy eaters, because that is my house most nights, to be honest with you. And I keep saying I'm going to put my foot down. They'll eat what they're given. Sometimes it's just easier for an easier life, just as long as they're eating, right? But thank you, yeah. It is pretty, if I do say so myself. Right, so that's that one heat set, and then we'll just go in and do the blue. Oh, it's nice. It's one less pressure of the day, isn't it, then, if your hubby does the cooking. Is he a good cook? Or maybe you shouldn't answer that. Oh, you're the fussy eater. Ah, then sounds like you found yourself a keeper there as well then. So now we're going in with the smaller of the stamps, and this is just 2 little leaves. And as before, that's really annoying. As before, we're just going to fill in the gaps now. And we don't have a huge amount. I think there's more on the blue, actually. I've stamped better there. So, looking for those gaps. I think I can get away with there. Oops. That was a bit aggressive, wasn't it? I should have been a bit... Oh, dear. Yeah. Keep stum then, Vicky. Keep stum. Otherwise, he'll certainly be... He won't be making dinners for any more fussy eaters in the future if we say anything untoward. Don't know if I can get... I can't quite get in there. So, no, what I'm going to do actually, I'm going to use that space and put the sentiment there. Can you see there's a really frustrating gap there that's not quite big enough to get this stamp in? So I'm going to leave that gap, and that's where we're going to put the sentiment. So that's done. And then let's just fill the gaps of the blue. Yeah, you behave, Karen, as well. Right, so that is a beautiful gap there. And then we'll go down here. And then we can do the entirety, I believe. It's come off the edge a little bit, but that's what we're doing, isn't it? And then up here, and that should finish that off. There we go. Ooh, Vicky, I like that. I haven't yet found a way round that. I did buy a silly tool with some little... Oh, here we go. Oh, God, don't laugh. It's the silliest thing. To not burn fingers. But the metal conducts the the heat. And then it just burns up here anyway. I mean, it really doesn't serve much of a purpose. I do like a crafty gadget, but sometimes they're a bit pointless, aren't they? So that is a fantastic tip. And I was actually shopping on a reduced stationery website the other day, and clipboards were on there. And there was a DL size one and there was an A5, and I thought, do I need any clipboards? Certainly not a DL and an A5. And I left it all in my basket and came away from it. So I'm hoping after this, I'll be going straight back over there and seeing if there's any, if it's all still in my basket. Fantastic, thanks for that. Right. Rose gold first on the pink. Or gloves indeed, Karen. Yeah. There we go. So that's the pink. And then this will be the last time that I'm using the rose gold embossing powder. Oh, I keep putting that aside. It's not that aside that I want. It's this. So that's that. And the silver. Oh, time's catching up, isn't it? I've been doing this for rather a while now. And then I will just take off a little bit of residual just there. Oh, it hasn't. There we go. I think that'll do. I'm throwing things around. It's terrible. I must do that when I've not got you guys here as well. No, it must be a terrible habit of mine. Right, so I'm just going to heat set. I need to get one of those, Vicky, those brick mats. They are on my to buy list. And that's a good idea as well, Mandy, see? I think realistically, for crafting, we do like a gadget, don't we? I think we're all as guilty as I am for buying a gadget. But realistically, 99% of things that we do in the craft room call for things that we've already got in the house, don't they? We don't need special tools, and I mean materials is different, but tools, we've got most of them in the house already. There we go. So that's where we're at now. So they've all been embossed. Really pretty. I really like the blue one. I'm a bit narked that there's quite a lot of powder in here that I didn't want there, but that's what happens, doesn't it, with embossing. So that's what we're at the moment. So I did go ahead and prepare the cards so that you didn't have to watch that. So I've got two A6, this time side fold. I can't remember what you call them. Valley fold? Anyway, two side fold, and I've covered the entirety of the front with a piece of black card. So on first impressions, we've got a black card, but we've still got our white card to write in. I've prepared the... I hope I've worked on the right card, otherwise I may have to do some trimming here. But I've prepared the background colour, so that's going to go here. I'm not going to bother gutting them because I quite fancy the weight, having the weight of the cards, all the layers today. The blue one, I prefer the blue one as well, Karen T. And then that's going to go there. And then again, I've done the same with the blue. So I've prepared a blue panel to give us a coloured border, and then hopefully, I think that was a fluke. There was a 50-50 chance, but I think I've got away with that. And that will be that one. So I'm going to glue those down, and then the last thing I'll do is move on to the sentiment, and then I'll let you all go. Not that I'm keeping you here against your will. I left my glue open overnight and it's clogged up now, but I did... This one's not as... It's a very fine nozzle, but it should do the job. Right, so there's not a huge amount coming out of that, but we'll make of it what we can. So we've only got a couple of mil of the black background poking out there. So remembering that I want the sentiment here, actually what I'm going to do is I'm going to have that at the top and have the sentiment popping in from there, as opposed to popping in at the bottom left. I always go off with the glue there, and I end up with the glue all around the edges. I'm a right mucky pup. I'm just standing this up so that I can see that I'm getting them straight. I'm just giving that a good impression. Vicky, I think Heidi might. I heard Heidi mention the glue the other day, and I don't think I quite know what it is, but I think Heidi knows. Is it the American brand? Is that the American brand? It's not. Is it? Heidi, can you help me out again if you're still here? Is this the same glue? Another gadget indeed. Is this the same glue press that you use, Heidi? What brand is that one, Vicky? So some of this is quite flimsy. This blue is quite flimsy. So it's perfect for this purpose, where we don't need it to hold its own. So just popping that down. Oh, Misty! Okay. Oh, stop it. You know I'm going to come away from here and go looking up all these gadgets and dropping them all in my basket. I think when they find a glue that doesn't clog, it'll be some sort of miracle, won't it? Do you know the worst for it is the silicone glue? That is a bugger. I gave up on that years ago, because that you open a silicone glue, and then when you come back to use it, just the second time you come back to use it, there you go, clogged. It's such a waste of money. It's fantastic when it works, but such a waste of money. Yeah, see, I've got the Tim Holtz stamp positioner, but I can't help keep looking at that Misty stamp positioner. I don't know. I've got all the little bits of paper and all the bits and pieces that go in the Misty, but just not the Misty. There we go. So that's our blue one at the moment, and then our pink. So all that's left now is to do the sentiment. So because of time, I will use the same sentiment on both, and we're going to go with a very muted one for me. As I said at the top there, I'll go with the Sorry I Forgot Your Birthday. That's from More Narky Birthday Sentiments. I will go on the website this evening and put the discount on that one. Where have you gone again? There we go. So let's position and let's prepare that. So let's let that plop on, find its own place in there. That's the most effective way of getting it straight. So I actually am going to use my anti-static, and then let's stamp that once, and then we'll come back to it and do the second one. So what I did find was that the rose gold didn't emboss well onto the black at all. It just showed up as a shiny black. So I'm going to do the sentiments both in the silver for this purpose. And then there's not a huge difference between the silver. In fact, I don't even need to add any more to that. Between the silver and the rose gold, as I was saying earlier, that it's not really a rose gold. I had a sort out recently, Vicky, of some old kids crafting bits and pieces that I found in my craft room, and there was some PVA in amongst that, and I keep saying, I kept it aside and rehomed the rest of it, but I keep saying I'm going to try the PVA, because I'm convinced that all glues do the same thing, really. It's all just a con, isn't it, crafting? So I'm going to trim that down. Let me just get my trimmer. I'm not going to be sloppy. I'm actually going to, there we go, protect them cards. Right, so I'm going to trim that first one down. You can see that coming together now. And then let's just repeat that process. Let's just pop that there a moment. So let's emboss again. Oh, get it the right way up. And they're as straight as I'm going to get them. And again with the silver, that'll do. Right, so that's the last time we're using that. Exactly that, Vicky. Exactly that. They're all made to stick things together, aren't they? So I hope not. I hope not. Although it's not a bad smell, is it? Let's face it. Right, and let's trim that one down. And then all that's left is to stick them down. So I'm going to trim the ends off. Oh, I think that's the quietest I've been there. So let's make sure we got them the right way up. So this one I was going to have across here to fill that gap. Oh, it's still going. We still have a bit of life in that glue. So I'm going to take that right across, right to the edge of the card, as opposed to the edge of the any of those panels, if that makes sense. So I've taken it right up against this outside edge here. Oh, so we've got a bit of spillage there. So that's that one. And then this isn't as full here as I'd have liked, but I'm actually going to pop that sentiment there, actually. That doesn't sit easy with me. For some reason, coming off the fold of the card, it doesn't sit naturally to me, but I'm just hiding up areas which make it look a little bit disproportionate, I suppose. And as before, I'm going to bring that right up, not as far actually, because we don't want it overhanging the card. So I'm just going to use my finger to stop that going beyond the fold, and that's it. There we go. So two very similar cards, but very different, done exactly the same way, but just using different colours, and with a very mild sentiment. I'm just going to take away some of that glue off of that sentiment there. Oh, that would do. There we go. What do you think? Maybe stand in Oh, maybe, Mum, but it's more a case of the nozzles clogging up. So I normally have a pin, and I did have one beforehand, and I've just thrown it down. As you see, that I tend to make a habit of just throwing things down. I've thrown it down, and I don't know where it's gone, but normally I use a pin just to unclog them, but I did that with this one, and it's clogged again. Hobbs thinks the chemicals in the brandy one may be stronger. Ah! So what, perhaps better, Vicky? Thank you, Vicky. Oh, thank you, Penny. Thank you, Caranel. Thank you, Mandy. Absolutely agree, I think. And I think we don't do... What on earth is that? Glue. Blooming glue. We don't... Well, I certainly don't make many blue cards, and although that's, you could say that's aimed at a female because it's very florally, females like blue as well, don't they? So thank you, Mum. So I've got 5 minutes, just to, I say 5 minutes, I do like to work within the hour. Yes, Vicky, you have to test this. You have to test this and then let me know the results, please. Saves me testing it. So, because I didn't do it, I'm really unprepared, aren't I, when I do these. I've actually wrote down all my socials. So, my YouTube is Dani Doodles UK, capital D in both the Dani and the Doodles, but the rest of it lowercase. I should have made that clearer in my writing there, but I am really trying to get this up to 50 subscribers, which doesn't seem like a lot, but it is a lot when I'm only sat at 20. So we've got another 30 to go, but as soon as we get it there, I can lose Chunky Monkey, because I think that's just confusing everyone at the moment. Keep toothpicking the nozzle when you're not using it. That's not a bad idea, although they do have lids. But that's not a bad shout. Karen, when's your birthday? Right, Insta is Dani_Doodles_. Facebook, Dani B Dani Doodles, and then the web is danidoodles.co.uk. I think that's all I have to tell you for that. But I'm going to leave that there just while I just say that I will reduce the More Narky Birthday stamp set this evening. That will go down by 20% off as the product of the week. That will be for a week. Thank you so much, Vicky. So that will be for a week until next week, and then we'll see what we'll work with then. On Wednesday I'm due to get the new release, so next Monday I'm hoping that I can work with one of the new releases, which is really exciting. Other than that, nothing to say other than join me next Monday, please, if you can, at the usual time, usual place. And if you're about Wednesday daytime, I do a daytime live as well for anyone that can't make the evening ones. But that is not... Thank you, Penny. Oh, thank you, guys. It really means a lot. It's the best way of getting myself out there is to... is sharing. Sharing is caring, they do say, and it's cliche, but sharing really is caring. It's the best way to get the brand out there. So I'm really, really grateful. So yeah, so if anyone's about on Wednesday daytimes, that's at 1 o'clock, but that's in the same place. But that is not using Dani Doodles. I have no idea what I'm doing yet. I normally decide tomorrow. Other than that, I'll let you all go. Hiya, Maddie. We're just going now, but you should be able to catch up. Oh, which reminds me, thanks, Maddie, you've done me a favour. I try and take this down off YouTube as soon as I can. Sorry, not YouTube, Facebook. And then I stick it up on YouTube as soon as I can. So, Maddie, and anyone else that didn't quite catch it. Hello, Jane. Lovely to have you here. And thank you very much. Thank you. These were... I'll leave them both there for you. Yes, perfect, Maddie. It'll be on the new YouTube channel, which is, if you're not already subscribed, it's Dani Doodles UK, capital D in both the Dani and the Doodles. I am really going to go now because I keep going over the same things and you're sick of hearing, listening to me. So have a wonderful evening, whatever you're doing. And I hope to see some of you Wednesday. If not, it'd be lovely to see you next Monday with a new release. Yay! Right, take care everyone, and thanks again for joining. Good night.